Welcome to We're Reading Virtual Story Times Reading and Craft for the holiday season of 2021. This year's story is The Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg, followed by A Gingerbread House Craft. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me I'd never hear, the ringing of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night I did hear sounds, though not the ringing of bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and a robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. "All aboard!" the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I took his outstretched hand, and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and as rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through the cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon. But the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on the frozen sea. "There," said the conductor, "is the North Pole." The North Pole. It was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first we saw no elves. "They are gathering in the center of the city," the conductor told us. "That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas." "Who receives the first gift?" we all asked. The conductor answered, "He will choose one of you." "Look!" shouted one of the children. "The elves!" Outside we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl, so crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no farther, we stopped and the conductor let us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and, pointing to me, said, "Let's have this fellow here." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat it on Santa's knee, and he asked, "Now what would you like for Christmas?" I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I had wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from the reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood holding the bell high above him and called out, "The first gift of Christmas!" A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us, then disappeared into the dark polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see my bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said. But the train gave a sudden lurch, and we started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. "What?" I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. "Merry Christmas!" he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. "Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C." I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me as it does for all those who truly believe. The end. Our craft is a foam gingerbread house. I got these kits from Oriental Trading. So all we're going to do is follow the instructions that comes with each kit. So the first step, it says to assemble the 4 walls and then adhere the roof pieces. I'm going to go ahead and pop out these little things here before I do anything else, just because they're there. The back one has nothing. And to adhere them together, you just line them up and pop them together. And that's upside down, I think. Yeah, it looks better. Just play with it till you figure it out which way it goes best. So that's one. That looks good. That's 2 walls. 3 counting the back, and then the 4th one will be the front with the door. And they should hold together pretty well. You could use some tacky glue to hold it together, but I think it's going to hold well enough on its own. So that's what we have so far. And then it says to adhere the roof pieces. These are the roof pieces. There's there's 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I guess what we do is just stick them on. Oops. I'm going to rip it off nice and clear so that nothing sticks to it. I'm going to turn it to face me so I can see. The first one on there. Oh, there's 6. That's good. Thought that was strange that there were only 5. That's 2. Sorry, I can't do this facing you guys. It's a little tricky for me to do it backwards. And these seem pretty easy to tear off. You might need an adult's help if you're smaller, but for me it was pretty simple. And now they're stuck together at the top, and it's a solid little house. And then the next thing you do is just put on all these extras. We got little snow for the top, we got snow for the sides and the windows. I'm just gonna pop out all these pieces. That looks like for the tops of the triangular roof part. And I guess these go on windows. Like that. We got this snow for the bottoms. Snow drift. Shorts. I think they give you extra, so you can decorate it however you'd like. I'm gonna put on the snow first. Let's see. The little one seems to fit just fine. I'm gonna put that one on the back. It was a little harder because it's hard to see which side the paper's on. But it's okay. There it is on that side. Put it on the front. Actually, I'm not going to put it on the front because the store's in the way. Let me put the door on first. But here I put it on the side instead. So the door is, looks like it's this red one. We'll pop out the little squares for the window of the door. Snowed in a little bit there. Then we have these longer ones, I guess will go on the eaves here. One on one eave. Put one on the other side. Now remember, this is how I'm doing it. You can do it however you like. Have one over there. Put a little front snow. Gonna tuck it right up into there. So we got those on. Then we have 2 square windows. We got those here. And they've got the little squares in them too, so I'm going to pop those out. These are all the extra pieces right over here off screen. Taking them out, moving them over. And you can save these little square ones for if you do other projects with, you have a bunch of perfect squares here, so that could be helpful for you. I always try to save whatever I don't need because you never know. One on that window. One on that window. Now we have a little curved one. This has little pie slices in it. See? Little circle here as a doorknob. Right there. Let's put a doorknob out. So this could go across the top. Lots of snow on our house. On the top. We still have these little snow. I'm going to put those across the top of the windows. I'm kind of following the directions the way it looks. But by all means, do it however you like it. I don't like to tell people what to do. This one here. One to put on the bottom of a circle window. I'll put these little snowballs on top of the house. I'm going to go ahead and put this, looks like holly. Put that on top. Put the little red berries here for the holly. And we still have these sticks, and these are for lollipops, I'm seeing. We have candy canes. Careful tearing the candy cane out, you don't want to rip the top off. Little ones like gumdrops, I guess. And we'll use the red ones too. do this on the other side too. You only have enough for one side. So I'm going to go ahead and do one side, and then maybe I'll put the lollipops on the other side. Peppermints. Stick those on that roof. Candy canes, lollipops, peppermint lollipops. I'm just going to put the sticks on first. Then put the lolly part on. Tired of pulling the paper off. Two there. I'll do two on the other side, and I think that'll be about it. That'll be all our pieces. Kind of wish there were 3 more dots, but that's okay. And that's it. That's our little gingerbread house. And again, I didn't use any glue. You can use glue to glue it together if you like, but it seems like it holds up pretty well. But that's it. That's how you make it. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll see you soon on We're Reading Virtual Story Time.